Southern Europe is grappling with a series of devastating wildfires. At least 14 people have died in Turkey. Extreme heat making conditions more difficult. Turkey just reported its hottest July in 55 years. Scientists warn climate change making extreme weather events occur more frequently. Fires have also broken out in Greece, France, and Spain. Cami Knight has more.
In northwestern Turkey, firefighters run from their fire engine as they struggle to contain the blaze. Hundreds of residents have had to evacuate from this province as it grapples with exceptionally high temperatures. Turkey recorded its hottest July in 55 years, with a record 50.5 degrees Celsius reached by the end of the month. It's a similar situation in Greece, where violent winds are making matters worse. They've disrupted ferry traffic, forcing boats to remain docked in Piraeus, near Athens. Just a few dozen kilometres away, the landscape has been turned to ash, with some residents forced to watch their houses burn down.
Honestly, I don't even know what to say. I am completely distraught. We live in fear. It is a truly desperate situation, and it's not just me, it's the whole neighbourhood.
Aside Turkey and Greece, most of southern Europe is suffocating. Parts of Spain have experienced temperatures of up to 44 degrees Celsius. It comes as the country has already recorded over 1,000 heat-related deaths since mid-May, more than a 50% increase compared to 2024.
Well, for more, we can speak to Lindon Pronto, a former firefighter, currently a wildfire management expert at the European Forest Institute. Hello to you, Lyndon. He joins us from Bonn, Germany. In 2025 alone, this year alone, more than 350,000 hectares have been burned. That's a 114% increase from last year. Why has 2025 been so bad?
Well, it's hard to say when any given year is so bad. What basically happens is you have a compounding effect of multiple years of heat waves, of drought conditions, and these build up, and eventually the conditions line up just right to where you do have an area that's exposed enough, has a wind event, has an ignition, or fire responds topographically, as we're seeing on the screen right now. So that really just depends on the conditions, but they do compound, and there are many factors which add to that compounding effect.
Yeah, and if wildfires are becoming more frequent, is there any way to reverse that trend?
Not really. The best thing we can do is adapt our landscape, adapt our settlements too, and this is where we talk about resilience to fire. So even the most well-trained firefighters, the most technically equipped fire brigades and services, they obviously will at some point reach their limit of span of control. And so this is where we cannot leave this problem to the response agencies. This is a challenge that needs to be addressed at landscape level. It needs to be addressed with a number of different stakeholders before it ever gets to the response arena.
You're originally from California, if I'm not mistaken. You're working in Germany now, so you might have a unique perspective on this. But are there conflicting strategies on fire management?
Essentially, no. I mean, basically we have the same issue in Europe and in the Mediterranean area as we do in, for instance, North America. And it's not, the causes are not the same. So in North America, we had very, very aggressive fire suppression for over a century, which led to a buildup in these in the landscape of vegetation, of fuel, as we like to call it. In Europe, we have the same outcome. It's just for different reasons. And here we have a lot of land abandonment. We have issues where human activity has gone away from managing these landscapes in terms of agriculture, in terms of grazing, in terms of historical activities. And so these landscapes have become overgrown, basically creating the same hazard, which is this overabundance in available material to burn.
And this happening, of course, during summer, so it's a peak tourist season. Should governments be controlling the flow of people to certain areas?
I think this is difficult to tell people, not to go certain places, or for governments to do that. Many of these countries rely on tourism for their economies. So I think what should be done is that there should be more responsibility within the tourism sector. One of the most devastating fires a couple of years ago was related to tourist activities. There are many instances of this. So I think people, for instance, that come from countries where wildfire is maybe not such a huge thing that's present in their mind, there needs to be more education there. There needs to be more training that goes on even within the tourist agencies, so they know, okay, how can we better prepare our tour guides? How can we better prepare and create information flow also in different languages for tourists, and to generally, raise the awareness of this threat in particularly the southern Mediterranean countries.
Yeah, yes, and you mentioned before that what can be done in terms of response is it only takes us so far, and after that we have to do some of these things on our own. I'm wondering if you saw those images from the Palisades fire in January. This one house still standing. Architect Greg Chasen designed it with several fireproofing features. He did say luck played a part. But so-called passive homes, I know those might be popular in Germany, also follow some of the same design principles. Can we or should we expect entire communities to use these strategies, or are there simply places that people should not live?
I think it depends on your ability and your commitment to creating an area that can withstand fire. And when you have fires like in the Palisades where the structure is burned down and the trees are still standing, or in Paradise some years prior, these are urban conflagrations. This is a little bit different than an issue that we are seeing in Europe. Most of the house construction in the Mediterranean region is out of concrete, rock, stucco. So they're not necessarily very flammable wooden structures, but obviously if fire gets established in a structure, there are wooden components to it, and that's where making sure that the area surrounding the house is cleared. And we have kind of a culture, this 112 culture, where we kind of call for help and expect it to arrive, and there's not the same level of individual responsibility into fireproofing your home and property that maybe some other regions of the world have, because they've been confronted with this in a way where they are aware that the responding agencies can only do so much.
Can you give us your professional experience here? Put us on the ground. When a fire starts, what are the first steps to managing it quickly and safely?
This is one of the things where I think Europe is experiencing growing pains. So initially, of course, the objective is life and property. So evacuation. This, of course, is also very challenging in terms of more vulnerable populations, the elderly, some of these homes where people are assisted living homes. These areas require a high level of coordination to get evacuated, especially if the evacuation routes are compromised by the fire itself. So the fact that all the energy and effort and focus needs to be on first, also clearing tourists or clogged roads, it prevents you from making tactical decisions on actual containment of the fire. And so the first hours, so like the fire we saw also a few days ago in France, these are conditions in which your primary objective is safety and getting people out alive. So only, in the next, operational period after everybody has been safely evacuated, can you really focus on what the containment strategy is going to be. And until then, it's quite a hectic point. And these are conditions which are kind of more extreme now. And I think our fire services also in Europe and those very experienced fire services need to come up with, additional training, new strategies, and where the individual responsibility plays a bigger role.
And one final question for you, Lyndon. Are there any technologies, new technologies, that are going to make your job easier in the short term?
So I've always been a longtime skeptic of technologies. And in this instance, the best thing still is the hand tool, is the firefighter on the ground. Now, we have a mushrooming, evolution in this space. And so I've meanwhile seen some really promising technologies out there. When we do have such moving fires, then, for instance, the ultra early detection can be a big asset. Our satellite monitoring capabilities are becoming, increasingly competent in the ability to deliver information in near real time. Whereas before, some years ago, getting a satellite image to a firefighter on the ground, well, that was 6 hours ago, 12 hours ago. How's that going to make him, more competent in decision making now? So I think we are seeing enhancements, whether it's from hardware or software or satellite imagery. So these are a whole number of different types, including really advanced technologies using jet engines, using fire itself in new ways. So we have a lot going on in this space. It's a very exciting space to monitor, but in the end, we still rely on those first responders on the ground, putting water in the fire, separating the fire from the fuel. And this is something where technology for right now can play a limited role at the moment.
Yeah, very important and a very dangerous job. We're certainly thankful for all the firefighters. Lyndon, thank you for your time. Lynden Pronto speaking to us from Bonn, Germany.
Thank you for having me.